We're back. I don't even know where we left off. This is many moons later. Several days to be exact. About a week or a little more. I don't even recall. We have got our package back from United Radio, in which we have the radio. And this turns into a kind of a twisted story, which I'll kind of commentate on as we go along. Dig this radio out of the box, we'll get it plugged in and see what kind of results we have. Let's see. Alright, so we are inside the car, and I'm trying to remember where we left off, because this thing has gotten a little frustrating. So we've got the new new radio, or we've got our radio back from the radio rebuilder. What I'm going to do is just take and we're going to plug it in. It's 12. And then we're going to rerun our same test with everything plugged in here. So I've got our, we're going to use our Autel scope because the Snap-on has died yet again, as a lot of you probably know from a previous video, and I have not received it back yet. So we're going to use the Autel scope, which I don't like as much, but it does work, and it's going to get us out of a jam here. So I've back probed into the left front speaker, and we'll get this beast fired up. We'll go to Maxi scope. We've got that hooked up. We're on a 2 volt per division and 2 volt scale and 2 milliseconds per division. Let me get this set up so I can move so you guys can see the best. I'm actually going to change this to a 1 volt scale. So we're picking up a little noise. You know, that's what why that line there is a little hatchy. I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to take and turn the key on. And if a lot of you guys remember from the Pontiac video that we just did, we should see our key dinger. So let's key on. Yeah, so we can see our amplitude is changing there, indicating some kind of dinging sound. I'll shut it off, turn it back on. So yeah, that's our chime. So what I'm going to do now is turn the heater off. I'm going to turn the radio on. So that's the radio. I don't know if I can get this all in one shot here. I'll try to back this out. Hopefully we can see everything. So the radio's on. We're on FM. Volume is all the way down. We're going to kind of crank this up. And now we can see the frequency of the wave, and amplitude changes obviously with whatever sound is being emitted through the speakers. And then that amplitude of that wave should decrease with volume, which it has. We'll go back up to full volume, and you can see it kind of goes bananas there. So we'll crank it all the way down. We'll mute, and that's that. That is a 100% confirmed fix. So if I was a viewer at home, we gotta find the. Oh gosh, we gotta find the little black cover here. What do we do with it? Well, we'll find it. Ah, it's right in my pocket, right where I left it. The cover for the wiring harness. But as I was saying, if I was a viewer at home, I would think, why don't we hear the radio? He's got it all plugged in. Obviously, the signal output from the radio is repaired. We've got the physical proof. We just saw it. That's where this whole job got kind of stupid. And I don't have, let me shut the key off. I don't have a good explanation for this. So I'll do my best to tell you the story. Try to find some parts here. 4 screws for the radio. So, what happened? We brought the car in, as you guys know, in part 1. I diagnosed it to the best of my abilities, and we could see, because you guys probably just watched it a minute ago, it's been like a week or so for me, we can see that in the first part of the video, the signal from the radio output was fixed. It never changed. It always stayed fixed, and the car reflected that, you know, from its output, you know, into the amplifier that we could hear. Like, well, yeah, it's stuck. You know, it's doing exactly what it's being told to do, at least the best that I understood. So that's why we decided to take the radio, pack it up, and ship it out. And I did that. It got to United Radio. The guy there called me and says, "There's nothing wrong with your radio." That's what he told me. And I'm like, you know, at that point I'm kind of flabbergasted. I mean, first of all, I hate to, you know, like any of you, I hate to make the wrong call. So let's see, I gotta get all the series of events correct. So I started kind of talking with him, and we started having some good conversation as to, you know, how this works and, you know, what am I missing. And at any rate, he decided to check. He wanted to double check my RPO codes and to see what, you know, what this radio was programmed for, you know, which system, because evidently this radio can be flashed, this single part number can be flashed for, I think he told me, 3 different style amplifiers and 3 different style systems, and how, you know, how it talks back and forth the amplifier, how it talks on the CAN line, and the CAN line talks the amplifier. And so, you know, I'm kind of discussing this with him, and I told him the test that I ran, and he says well, that test shouldn't be, that's not a valid test, he says, because this radio is programmed for a digital amplifier. I don't know a lot about audio electronics. Obviously from my Pontiac video, I mean, I don't even know how to measure impedance. That's neither here nor there. But so he tells me that this radio is set up for a digital amplifier. So I asked him what that means, and he basically kind of put it in layman's terms, the fact that it's you know, it's going to communicate to the amplifier the volume and the radio and the fader and all that stuff on a CAN line. And I said, well, this amplifier doesn't have a CAN line. You know, this is just regular old amp. It just takes inputs from the radio and, you know, spits them out the speakers after it amplifies them. So he started checking RPO codes, and he says, well, this system shouldn't even have a digital style radio. It should be all analog. At that point, he asked me for the amplifier. So I sent in the amplifier, sent the radio back to him, because he assured me that the radio had the wrong programming on it. So I took and pulled the radio back out, pulled the amplifier out, and shipped them back. So we got everything shipped back, shipped the radio back, shipped the amplifier in so he could test this radio with my amplifier so we could get to the bottom of this and figure out what was, you know, what in the heck was going on. Because he was certain that the radio that we had, this radio right here, our original radio, was programmed for an entirely different amp and could have never ever worked under any circumstance in this vehicle, because it put out a fixed, you know, volume signal, which we saw, and supposedly it changes the volume and other aspects of the radio on the CAN line, which our amplifier couldn't even handle because we had an analog amplifier, and this was supposed to be programmed as an analog radio. That's the best I can explain it. That's what he told me. So with all that being said, you know, initially I thought, that's, you know, how does a radio just change programming? You know, that's impossible. You know, which he said too. He says, no, somebody would have physically had to upload the software on it or change the firmware or whatever, you know, whatever this thing takes. Which, you know, I know very little about. We just assume when we diagnose stuff that nobody's really changed the software on us. You know, I didn't ever think that was a variable. You know, when I'm talking to Ivan about this on the phone, I was like, hey dude, let's listen to this, you know. And, you know, both him and I never would have guessed that this is a variable. Oh, did somebody change the software? Psh, you know, who knows? So that's a variable now. Add that to your list. Long story short, I've got my amplifier back. The amplifier was toast, and the radio was programmed incorrectly. So I got my slip from United Radio, which is a fabulous company to work with, I'll tell you that. You know, I've used them before for fixing, you know, instrument clusters, OEM radios, aftermarket radios. I encourage you to look them up. United Radio out of Syracuse, New York. They do a great job. And you get to talk with the guy that's fixing your stuff, which is really cool, I think, especially for a huge company. All said and done, the amplifier was bad. I don't know how. He told me I had some component failure. That's kind of like something I'd say. I just had component failure. So I don't know. He said the amplifier was bad, that I shipped them, and the radio had the wrong programming. That was the overall end-all fix. He reflashed my radio for me to the correct software, to the analog software, which we just saw. We just proved whatever he did programming wise, fixed that. Now we've got this variable amplitude signal, which I would expect to see on most radios I work on. I don't know about this digital business. And then he replaced our amplifier for us, and together they all work. That's why, if you were asking the question why we didn't hear anything when I plugged that in, it's because this little guy's not plugged in yet. This thing is a pisser to get to. It's up underneath the dash. You have to pull the park and brake lever and everything out to get to it. But technically, when we put this in, we should be good to go. But yeah, how in the heck did that happen? I called the customer. I said, is there any possible way that your vehicle could have been reprogrammed? You know, where had this thing been prior to coming here? He had it at the Chevy garage. They supposedly did nothing. They gave him this, this huge estimate. They said to even look at it, it's going to be $500, once they had the vehicle there. At least that's what I understand. They give him this big estimate, this is what it's going to cost if you want us to even try to look at it. And then they give him this car back. So I don't know. The only thing I suspect, and this is just speculation, that, at the GM garage, they brought the car in, they plugged into it with their Tech 2 or whatever it is, OE tool they use now. Maybe some guy did the hokey pokey, tried to, reflash the radio, got things botched up, and, that was the end of the story. I don't know. I don't know the real answer to this mystery. All I know, it was a mystery, and it really, was quite frustrating, trying to make a diagnosis off, the information I thought was right, and then come to find out, this is not even the right programming, and, the amplifier is actually bad. Perhaps if we had, the right programming on the radio, we could have diagnosed this properly the first time, but that's a lot of rambling. Long story short, if we put this in, the radio should work. Everybody's happy. I'm happy. Customer's happy. You're going to be happy. We're all smiling and laughing, and he'll get his car back, and we'll give him the bill. The smiling might end right there. No, but it is what it is. We got it fixed. That's the important part. Why things were all goofed up and wrong software and everything like that, I don't know. So what I got to try to do is get this thing plugged back in. This thing is a real stinker. It'll get you pretty red in the face by the time you dig this thing out of there. So we'll see if we can't do this in a timely fashion. At least plug it in. I won't go through the whole process of trying to stick it back up here. I just want to hear if this thing's gonna make some noise. But yeah, what a mess. Dumbest thing I ever saw. Just kind of got to do the whole thing by feel, really. Okay. Yeah. It's plugged in. We got a big 9 diesel just pulling in. Alright, big moment of truth here. Got our dinger. Got our headlight dinger. Yeehaw! Can't go through life without your dinger.
On my
the radio. And we got our dinger. Oh, it's just constantly dinging. That's lovely. Why is it dinging? We got nothing. Because our door's open. We just got our dinger stuck. Well, I got to go through the grueling process of putting those 3 bolts back into the amplifier. Get that back up, get the park and brake pedal back on, and then just be done with this job. This one was one that got my blood pressure up a little bit. What are you gonna do? Alright. Well, I finally got that little circus put back together. It's just tedious, to say the least. Getting that amplifier back up in there. It's in a, like I said, quite a difficult spot. So if you're doing one of these, they don't give any direction in the manual, in the service manual, you know, the GM book. All they tell you is to remove this little hush panel and then remove the 3 screws that hold the amplifier in. I'll tell you right now, that is not the case. There's just not enough physical room to even get your, to get your hand in there or anything. It's terrible. Take the park and brake lever out. Take the park and brake lever out. You got to disconnect the front cable. Take the 3 bolts off it. Get that out of the way. Then you can just get your hand in there, and you can use a 7mm wrench on the one lower bolt. You have to, just 1/8 of a turn the whole way out, and then just a regular ratchet 7mm to get the other 2. Kind of get it fed back, and then you just have to reach up behind there and do the best you can to get the clips undone. They just got a little push tab. You push them and they pop out. About all the advice I can offer you on that. Well, there you go. I got everything all put back together and picked up. Probably if I brought you guys along on my second go round with this thing, it'd end up being like this big 3-part series. But when I got it back initially from the radio shop, he told me, oh, hey, everything's working, everything's okay. It's kind of a sinking feeling, like, oh, what'd I do wrong? But fortunately, after retesting and, just, talking with this guy and, figuring this whole mess out and getting the RPO codes, seeing what the radio's programmed for versus the amp and all that stuff, I guess the end result is good. We got our dinger, we got our radio, we got a happy customer. End result's good. The whole mix along the way. Make it crazy. But, well, it's fixed. Just waiting for the snap-on to come back. It's all we deal with here is broken electronics. The Altel, she's hanging in strong. It could use some software updates for the scan module or the scope module. It works okay. The snap-on definitely has a better scope. Let's see though, that's $10,000. This is $500. You tell me. It's not great, but for $500 it is. Compared to what they charge you for that. I think the new Veris now is like $15,000 and some change. They're just getting stupid with their prices, but for what it is, for a tool that has to go back every 3 months to be repaired, it's kind of ridiculous. So we'll wrap this beast up. That's it, viewers. I'm done with this beast. It's fixed in a big roundabout way. That's all you got to do at the end of one of these jobs. Sayonara, sucker. Sending this baby down the road. I'm gonna finish eating some of this stuff. I'm growing a liking to this Hawaiian candy that one of my viewers sends. Whew. I know another viewer really scolds me about the whole sugar intake thing. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But thanks for watching. Hope you understand a little bit. I sure learned a lot. I learned that the wrong software programming now is a variable in our diagnosis. I probably won't focus on that too much because the odds of that happening is pretty slim. And I still don't know why it happened on this one. Nobody knows the whole story, and that's super frustrating because that could have saved so much time. But it didn't. It is what it is. It's fixed. That's all I know. And the customer should be happy. So check us out on Facebook if you haven't. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that already and you want to stay up to date with the latest publications that roll out of here every week and sometimes multiple times throughout the week. Check us out on Google Plus if you haven't. You can join us there socially. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.